So how do we effectively evaluate our team members? I mean, this is kind of the linchpin of it all. How do we know where they can improve? How do we know where they can't improve? If we've got a team member here and they need to get over here, obviously there's an amount of time in between that has to happen. How do we evaluate if we're willing to put in the work and expend the time to get there, or if this is a coach out situation? But before we get into any of this stuff, we've got to understand how are we going to do that? How are we going to evaluate them? Sometimes our people are a result, are an outcome of the type of leaders that we are. If you're you may be introducing a kind of rose-colored lens or a bias into the people that you're leading. And oftentimes our people are sometimes underperforming because of leadership. I mean, that's the harsh truth of all of this. We've got to get out of our people's way in some cases to let them do what they're really good at, why we hired them in the first place. I wanted to give you guys some quotes from some actual doctors. I told you we surveyed a bunch, we've talked to a bunch of doctors, and I kept hearing on these calls, I wish the doctor would, or I wish the staff would. And that just seemed to be this repetitive theme. So when we went back and listened to these recorded calls, I pulled out a bunch of the I wish doctor would quotes that a lot of the teams were saying. And I've got 6 or 7 of them here that I want to share with you tonight. I wish the doctor would communicate better with the staff. I wish the doctor would be more aggressive with authority and stop worrying about if people like them or not. If I remember right, the person that said this went on to talk about the office was like a popularity contest. It was like a high school clique, and it's not a popularity contest, right? I wish the doctor would stand up and enforce their standards. We've set the standard, now let's enforce them. Not worry about whose toes they're stepping on. Make sure everyone is doing things the way they need to be done. I wish the doctor would put their foot down and stop the office drama. Everyone needs to know what is and isn't acceptable from the employees and stop trying to please everybody. You can't please everybody. It never happens. I wish the doctor would communicate better and appreciate what we do. They don't take the time to listen to the issues that we have. We want to make the practice better. And I think that last sentence should be bolded. We want to make the practice better. We're not coming up with ideas and objections because we want to make it worse. I don't think any of your employees woke up this morning and before they came into work, they thought, man, I just want to suck today. I want to do the worst job I possibly can for this guy that writes me a paycheck. I don't think anybody's employees thought that this morning. So realize they're trying to help, and they're either not able to help because they don't see the big picture, or maybe they're not being listened to, or there's other factors at play here that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I wish doctor would allow our light to shine. Let go of the negativity, the distrust, the insecurity, and the uncertainty of the staff. Communicate what they want. This communication was a huge theme across all this. Communicate with the staff more often and more clearly. Spend less time in their office and more time with us. And finally, I wish that this was a pretty direct one. I wish the doctor would just fire Susie and at least at minimum, stand up to her. Follow through with the standards that have been set for the whole office. And the reality is all these things that I've just read to you, these are not the problem. None of these things are the problem. These are the symptoms. These are the symptoms that are cropping up because of the problem. And the reality is these numbers are actually, these quotes are happening everywhere. These are supported by fact. 30% in the United States, this was a huge Gallup poll that was taken, when was this taken, David?
2 years
A couple years ago?
Yep.
A couple years ago, they surveyed like 1 million small businesses. 30% of the team members did not have job clarity and clear priorities.
30% did.
Only 30% did, sorry. So 70% did not have job clarity and clear priorities. Only 27% of team members got ongoing feedback and communication. That means that 73% of the employees in this country did not have ongoing feedback and communication with the guy that signs their paycheck. 22% of team members were given the opportunity to learn and grow. 78% of the people in this country did not feel like they had an opportunity to learn and grow. And only 19% of team members felt they were being held accountable. 81% of the people in this humongous survey responded with they did not feel like they were held accountable. So when you overlay these stats with the problems that we hear from a lot of dentists, these are just two sides of the same coin. This is the data, and the quotes you saw before were the symptoms, but what's the real problem here? And if you think these are just being things that are said by just the complainers, I'm going to challenge you to think again. These are not just the complainers, and I'm putting this in my quotes here. These are not just the complainers that are doing these polls. These are not the complainers that are saying stuff about, I wish the doctor would. This is a huge opportunity in your practice if you're able to identify where your leadership style is not leading your people to the outcomes that they need to create. Your job as the leader is to lead your people to outcomes that they couldn't normally create on their own. If your people were you, the visionary, they'd know how to go do this stuff, but they don't. They're looking to you for guidance on how to help them.